Good morning. Welcome to the State of the Church presentation. I'm Sharon Bowen, and with Kevin Hinders, we co-chair the Church Administrative Council. This presentation is meant to inform the congregation, on the ministries and business of the First United Methodist Church of Ames. In all things, we try to keep our mission statement and core values in front of us. Our mission statement is to make disciples of Jesus who serve beyond the walls. And our core values, welcoming to all, partnering in faith formation, encouraging service. The agenda today is full, so let's get started. Dean, you can take it away.
Thank you. And again, I'm the lay leader of the church, so I'm pleased to be able to give you a little bit more about the faith formation. I was glad when they said to me, "Let us go to the house of the Lord," is what is read in Psalm 122, verse 1. Going to church is very important to me in that it helps me to build relationships with fellow believers. That is what we call community. As I look back on 2022, I was encouraged by the members returning to the house of the Lord. Fellowship was buzzing and the members enjoying their time in community fellowship. And it was great to be able to, in seeing small groups gathering to study the Lord's words, as well as doing community ministry and creating caring miracles or ministries beyond the walls of our church. On the slide here this morning, there is this opportunities. I just want to let you know that there are copies of this back where we sign in every Sunday morning, and for those that want to come into the church office, they're available, but it tells a little bit more about all of these various opportunities. And again, we saw a lot of that in the December newsletter. But there are opportunities for all ages. I guess the other thing besides, there's a way in which we can do something, and I like the opportunity of maybe for those parents that drop their children off for Sunday school and then leave to do something else, that maybe they can start forming their own little group to help them building relationships with one another. And then this helps to build accountability with one another and surviving in this troubled world. Members are wanting to know if we will ever get back to normal. Pastor Nikki shared with us in the Blue Christmas that many are still grieving normalcy. It will be a matter of time before we overcome this grief. And again, I'd like to encourage those of you that are part of a lot of these various formation opportunities, invite others to be a part of this. Or if you have an interest in something, start one on your own. I just pray that we may all be together in the house of the Lord in 2023, praising God for what He is doing in our lives as we become a community of believers. As Jesus would say, come and see.
Hi everyone, I'm Sue Evans. I'm the chair of Children, Family, Intergenerational Ministries. It's CFIM, it's much easier to say. On our slides, I'm not going to read to you how everything connects to our mission, but we have that on our slides. I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of our programming that we've done last year. Painting on the patio was done in the summer, where we had a guided painting, and that was one of our most popular, one of our favorite, we hope to do again, multi-generational, where we had guided painting based on scripture on the patio. Everybody got to go home with a painting. New Year's Eve is an event that we do on New Year's Eve during the morning with games and activities across the church. And then we do a balloon drop at noon. That we open to the community, and so we usually the majority of the people that come are not actually church members, but new families that we're welcoming and community members. And this year we got really close to having 1,000 balloons dropped from the balcony. There's always a few that pop when we're blowing them up. Trunk or treat, if you've never heard of this before, we've been doing this for multiple years now. We invite families and other members of the congregation to decorate the trunk of their vehicle for Halloween and give out treats or candies and such. And this is another one we open up and invite the community into. We also, since it's late October when we do it, we hand out some information about our Christmas Eve and our New Year's Eve program, and we've invited some extra families into the church this way. And usually Spider-Man makes in a visit or so. Next slide is Sunday school, children reading about the Gospel of Mark. We did that as our series, January through May. If you don't know, we do a rotation model for our Sunday school, so there's usually the same scripture or story presented for 3 to 4 weeks in a row through different learning ways. We usually do like an art rotation, drama, games. Sometimes there's a music rotation. Sometimes we've done food or other things too. So the children can learn about the story through different means. Bible Buddies is a new intergenerational project that we've been doing this year. Some of you may be a buddy. Children signed up, got a stuffed animal and an adult Bible buddy that they read scriptures together and read stories of the Bible, and they have that conversation back and forth with their adult Bible buddy to kind of connect our younger kids with some of the adults in our congregation. VBS, we do as an open. Sometimes in the past years we've done it with some neighbor downtown churches, but this year we did it on our own. And again, a lot of the kids that come from outside of our church. It's a free event. Again, we do it with rotations of stories, games, art, and that's when the art teacher gets a little crazy and does crazy things. Okay. Camp. Our children go to camp quite frequently, usually Wesley Woods, but some others. We have a week where our confirmation kids go through the church calendar within a week and do those. And that's also the week, since we have some of our staff down there, that some of the younger kids will go to camp that week too, so that there's somebody they know there. Our church also, our CFIM group also supports the camp through, we pledge every year a certain dollar amount to send to Wesley Woods. Last year we did the baked potato bar to raise the funds for that. So that was one of the first big food events that we had tried to do since COVID. It was very fun and very successful. Snack packs, where the kids have found that there was a need for some things out in the community, so they made the packs. The school snack fund, we heard from a couple parents that were involved with their local school that some schools didn't have enough funding to do the snacks for the kids, so we raised fund and have developed a funding for that. As we're going through our priorities for this year, we're looking at more ways to create more intergenerational opportunities to connect to service. We have a very service-oriented group of youth in this church that like to find ways to, as they're doing their activities, to raise funds or make materials. Next week they're making blankets. So we're trying to find ways to connect with other generations in the church. Our other priorities are keep safety of all involved as a top priority. All of our adult leaders are gone through Safe Sanctuary to make sure everyone feels comfortable and safe here. And that actually helps bring in new people too, because this could be their safe place. Continue community outreach opportunities, focusing on the needs of the community. Like I said, our kids are very service oriented, and when they hear a need, they bring it in, and we see what we can do about it.
My name is Eden Jens, and I'm going to give you the report on our youth program. We have a small group of dedicated parents who are now on their second year of trying to operate a youth program without a youth leader. And it is truly a struggle. We're challenged in this area. We are thankful for our curriculum that does give us any structure and outline that we are able to operate from comes from that curriculum. We have 2 Sunday school classes, 1 high school class and 1 middle school class. We have 1 Wednesday night youth group that is a combined high school and middle school group. Attendance at any of these weekly groups is quite low, about 2 to 5 students per group. We're struggling to inspire kids to participate and connect them. We do have a couple of highlights this year. This fall, we had youth participate in the crop walk, both walking and in gathering grocery and money donations at local grocery stores. We also had a Christmas party where we had 20 youth come together for the first time since pre-COVID, which is not reaching outside the walls, but right now in our youth program, this is meeting an even more dire need to just connect to each other. My personal goal and hope for the youth program this year is that we can find ways to connect youth to each other and to this church and to Christ. I also have a report from the Puppet Ministry. They have 5 energetic members. Numbers are low, but spirits are high. They did a June service, mostly recorded, but there was some live action too. And they did their first ever Thanksgiving Sunday performance. They partnered with the Children's Christmas program this year that worked really well. And Puppets is looking forward to taking their ministry on the road. They don't have any actual plans yet, but they're looking forward to making new plans, and they're always welcoming new members.
I'm Pete Peterson from SPRC, and I'm co-chair of the SPRC committee, along with Clarence Corey. SPRC is the Staff Parish Relations Committee, and in that we encourage and strengthen, nurture, and support the pastors and all of the staff in the church. We regularly confer with and consult and counsel with the pastors and all of the staff. Our activities included early in the year a youth curriculum purchase. The youth director at that time had retired or left the position to find another job, and as a result we helped with, at that time, Karen Kirkpatrick to purchase another youth program that will work with lay leaders in the church. And I believe you just heard some of that activity there. We did, unfortunately, have a number of pastor transitions, good and not so good. But Karen decided early on to retire this year, and so we worked with her and her husband so that they could make a reasonable move down to their home in Manhattan, Kansas. But we were fortunate to have Amanda Gordon come and be a pastor for us in that respect also. And we helped her and her husband, Adam, move to Ames. It seemed like we created a lot of parties along the way, because we had a farewell party for Karen and her husband, and then a reception to Amanda and Adam to come to our church here. And we're very thankful that they are here. It's worked out very well. One of the activities that we got into was to, as a result of of Deb at the office manager position, she announced that she would like to retire at the end of 22. And so we rewrote the job description for that activity to include and to update the procedures and to include a digital and technical requirements for that job. Things that Deb had not wanted to do, and so now we are very lucky to have that position filled. And as a result of that, we rewrote, I said, that description. We put out advertisements to the city, to Iowa State, to our church, and to the conference to fill those positions. And we are very pleased that 3 church members stepped up, and so Alice Moore, Vivian Severson, and Chris Hinders are the office managers right now, and we accounted for their different skills and the days that they wanted to work in the office. Also, we planned and had a farewell reception for Deb and a thank you for her 12 years of work for our office. Part of our activities include annually reviewing the benefits and the salaries for the pastors and the staff, and to make any adjustments as needed as we go along. Also, in cooperation with the trustees, we inspect the church parsonages each year and to recommend any changes that might be needed in their homes. And our music program is actually in good hands, but we do and are asking for prayers for our organist that is waiting for immigration status to change. And we have worked with immigration lawyers, and we have worked with looking for support from Senator Grassley's office. So we've actively tried to help with the situation, but it's really in the immigration office's hands right now. And our goal for next year is just to maintain our relationship with our staff and our pastors.
My name is not Renee Pepper. My name is Neil Van Slyke, and I'm one of 2 representatives from Ames First on the Parish Relations Committee. The SPPRC is the way it's referred to, but that's us, Colo, and Collins, for those of you who may not be familiar. A little bit of background as to how we came about. We organized as a result of a combination of situations, it seems to me, including money available, attendance, membership number trends, COVID, and a pastoral retirement of the gentleman who shared Collins and Colo. We started meeting monthly in 21. We have 2 reps, as I said, from each church. It's equal representation. We're bigger, we don't get more votes. Our chairpersons rotate. It started with the gentleman from Collins. Colo has it now. I or Ames, somebody from Ames will chair it in 24, 25. When we first started our meetings, Pastor Karen pretty much ran everything, and the emphasis was on the concepts of a laity-led church and evangelism. All three churches at the time, and still, I suppose, are concerned and worried about numbers of parishioners and their financial situations. So consequently, our meetings have gradually settled into discussions of how things are going in general, calendar items, and what we are each hearing about the three-church parish setup. Lay leadership and outreach are part of these discussions. As far as my own experience, I'm not speaking for Renee, I have had only a few direct questions, and they have dealt with a specific item in an agenda. I personally, in the year and a half or whatever that we've been around, have not had anyone come to me about the general construction of the three-church parish. You can certainly email Renee or me, and we'll get whatever your concern is out there, I can assure you of that. But we can't report on what we don't know. So please feel free to do that. And I'm certainly not taking time today to give my opinion about a bunch of things. I'm just here to tell you what we've done. A little information for you as far as Collins and Colo. There's a few concerns that they have. Collins representatives have mentioned several times in various ways, but at almost every meeting, their concern about simply saving their church. There's a feeling there that members have left because so few people are handling responsibility, and those few people have burned out. They are worried about running the church without new assistance. Colo has brought up a desire, time and again, actually, for their own pastor. And I don't blame them, I get it. But at the same time, I think they acknowledge the need for the current setup. It's not like somebody's got money in their wallet, they're going to go out and hire Colo, a new pastor, for themselves. They were sharing before this process even started. Similar to Collins, Colo's considering a restructuring of committees so that the same people aren't doing everything all the time. Maybe they can consolidate some things and maybe bring a few different people in and not have such a gigantic, what seems to be a large list of groups doing things. Maybe we can do it more efficiently with fewer people. All three churches at every meeting mention numbers of members as a concern at one time or another. And I don't think we're doing that as a gripe, gee whiz, I wish it was 1974 again. But we're just sharing it as we're all in kind of the same boat. Overall, I think each church membership has some understanding of what got us here, if only from a financial, practical standpoint. So in our meetings, there is no question that all the parishioners in all three churches want their own pastor. And I mention that only so that no one out here thinks that there's any doubt on the part of our committee about what the ideal situation would be. We get that. The First Church members might be interested in a slight change made recently about pastor salary divisions. We started with 85% of the lead pastor's, Pastor Amanda's salary. Ames First took that, and it was divided up. We had a discussion. I kind of generated it. It was also led by Collins, who said, I don't think we're paying a fair share. meaning Collins. And we sort of went from there. So our share of Pastor Amanda's salary will now be 75%. Pastor Nikki used to be 65% from First United Methodist. That will be reduced to 60. This is simply a result. We're not going to nitpick minutes, I'll guarantee you that. I'm not going to look at any chart like that. But this came out of a general discussion with the pastors and a real look at where their time is spent. And so those adjustments were made. Maybe they'll be made again in next year. I can say that this is an open, very cordial group. We are a little territorial, but also very understanding about where the other churches are and the needs and the reality of the times in the United Methodist Church. I'm very happy to be part of the committee. I find it very interesting work. I really love the group, and I appreciate Pastor Amanda and Pastor Nikki's leadership for us.
Good morning. My name is Ben Smith, and I joined the Trustees Committee in 2022, and I currently serve as co-chair of the Trustees Committee along with Joyce Crotty. In the middle of 2022, I was asked to step in as co-chair to help fill in for Jerry Giebelstein, who is going to be stepping down. And I think I would describe my first year on the committee as a kind of a rebuilding and a catch-up phase from some things that got delayed during COVID. As far as repairs and maintenance of the facilities go, but we're making good progress now on catching up on those things and finding there's always new things that come up as well and getting plans for correcting those as they come up too. One of the first things we did last spring was we got new insulation blown into the attic of the parsonage at 1321 Burnett. That came about due to a energy audit by the city of Ames. They said there wasn't nearly enough insulation up there. And so we got that up to the correct R value, and hopefully the house is staying nice and toasty this winter for Pastor Amanda. We also started a process of looking at different options to upgrade our church security system. The current security cameras haven't been working properly for a number of years, and so that initiated the process, and we're finding that maybe there's other priorities, that would add to the security of the building more than just cameras, like maybe a electronic key card lock system versus our old hard key system. It'd be a lot easier to inventory and manage than the current system is, so we're looking at options there. We've met with one contractor, and we're looking at meeting at some others that other churches have used as well. But that'll be a pretty major project, and so we're taking our time with that based on available funding and other priorities. We finalized and updated our building use policy, and what that is, it basically sets the rental rates for outside groups or members that want to use church rooms and facilities for their different events. And the copy of that is managed by our office staff, so if anybody wants to rent a room, definitely talk to them in the office, and they can tell you how that would work. Basically, members get a better rate or free in some cases versus non-members and other groups in the community based on their history and what their missions are for using the rooms. We did get a new dishwasher installed at the 1321 Burnett Parsonage. The old one was about 25 years old and not working properly anymore. Pastor Amanda brought it to our attention, and our maintenance facilities manager Steve was able to go find a deal on one at a local appliance store in Nevada. So we were happy to get that working and upgraded. The landscaping at 1321 kind of got out of maintenance, a little bit out of control in places the last few years. Karen and Carl didn't hire anybody to maintain that, and I think it was a little bit overlooked. But myself and Dale Vanderschaff worked on getting that trimmed back into control this summer, and some of those areas that Fred had some flower gardens in had overgrown in weeds. So we decided to take those out of production and get them reseeded into lawn so they could easily be mowed and maintained. And so that's still a work in progress as well at 1321, but we've hauled off a lot of overgrown stuff and got it much more manageable now. A major project that we will be talking more about in 23, but had to get the funding in place for in 22, was getting our air conditioning system for the whole building here upgraded. One of the air handlers in the attic, which are all located in the attic, stopped working a few years ago. Luckily, the system was able to compensate and keep us cool last summer, but should another one of those go down, the system would likely stop working altogether. And it was also about 25 years old, and everyone agreed that it's lived its useful life and we should be proactive about getting that upgraded before we don't have any air conditioning at all. So we took the steps to try to find funding to fill the gap to complete that. Of course, costs for that project kept going up every time we requoted it last year. So that was a challenge, but we were able to work with the foundation and get the necessary funding in place to approve that bid last November with Converse Conditioned Air, and they ordered the equipment in November. Some of it was about 6 months out before it'll be delivered, but we're still hopeful and confident that it'll be installed and working by the time the heat hits here this summer. So be looking for some major construction and cranes and things set up during the spring here to get equipment removed and new equipment installed on the roof, as well as that air handler equipment removed from the attic and new stuff put up there. That'll be a pretty major project for us in 23. And we also, we had tuck pointing, and many of you have probably noticed some masonry and brick issues around on the outside of the building in different areas. We've known that for some time. We had a contract and a bid approved with Carr tuck pointing for almost 2 years now to get that fixed, and they kept delaying the work, saying they didn't have the right number of employees to complete the work. And they finally just admitted, we don't know when we're going to be able to do it because we just are having trouble finding staffing and catching up on projects. So we took it upon ourselves to go out and find another contractor that could bid the job, and ended up switching contractors. We actually got a little lower price, which was good, and they assured us that they will be here sometime this spring or summer to fix those masonry issues that keep getting worse as the weather keeps wearing down the building, of course. Something I learned that was very interesting about the building is when we had our insurance review this year, we learned that the current value of this property here is about $18 million. So when you look at that, it's no surprise that maintenance and repairs can be costly for a building of that nature. So that helps put everything a little bit in perspective, I think, as we talk about $123,000 air conditioning system. Well, it's a big building, and big buildings are expensive. In 2023, like I mentioned, the major project that we will be working on will be the installation of the new air conditioning system with Converse. It's great to have a local church member that runs that business and is very easy to work with and talk to, and obviously has a very passionate interest in making sure the church is well maintained and everything is done right. So we definitely appreciate Jim Converse's help with that. To get the tuck pointing repairs finally completed on the church. Obviously there's more than were originally quoted now that need done, but that should all be contained in the current bid, and we're excited to work with Iowa Tuck Pointing on that, and we think they'll do a good job and be receptive to getting it done right. We've been dealing with a few leaks in the church roof, on the flat part of the roof, especially it's kind of in the area where the roof of the old building and the new building meet. Steve has been up there many times getting us videos and pictures of where he thinks it might be, and we've been working with the roofing contractor, Central States Roofing, to get those figured out and fixed, and they've been here several times. It's getting better each time they come, and we're hopeful that with the spring rains and the snow melt this spring that we'll find that there's finally no more leaks, and we can get the holes, the drywall holes in the ceiling repaired once we're certain they're not going to get ruined by any more water again. So that is a work in progress, but it is getting better, and Central States is doing most of that repair under warranty. We did, I think the SPRC mentioned the parsonage inspections on the two houses. The one at 1102 Burnett revealed a few minor and major repairs needed done, so we're working through that list and prioritizing based on funding and available contractors to start getting some of those done here in 23. Like I mentioned, we are working on different options for upgrading the church security system. We want it to be a safe place for the employees and all of us to come to the building, no matter what time of day or night it is, and feel secure. And there's been a concern about some of the larger pipes on our organ. starting to lean and get weak at the base where they mount. And we've had a couple different organ contractors look at that. We're still going back and forth with them a little bit on what the best long-term solution is. And of course, you might imagine it is difficult to find a good, reliable, knowledgeable organ contractor that still works on these types of things. So that is a bit of a slow process. And then the fence at 1321 Burnett, the parsonage there, the fence on the south side, that privacy fence between the house and the church to the south, has been leaning quite a bit. A lot of the wooden posts are rotted off, and that fence is going to need replaced at some point in '23. We've already gotten some bids from a couple different fencing contractors, and the plan is to go with a more permanent vinyl fence that should have a much longer life and obviously stay in nice looking condition. There's only a couple $1,000s more to do that versus a wood treated fence again. So we hope to get that done in '23 as the funding comes along and before the old fence falls over completely. So any other maintenance issues or anything that you guys see as you travel around and look at the properties, please let myself or Joyce know, or Pastor Amanda and Steve as well have brought some of them to our attention. There's a lot to look at and keep track of, and so we don't always see it all, and just appreciate your eyes and ears on things as well as we all try to keep our beautiful facilities going into the future. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Terry Goodman. I co-chair the foundation along with Steve Gray. Do we have my slide that we can put up there so I can remember? Thank you. Just to give you a quick overview of the foundation, the balance as of the end of '22 was $679,000. That's down quite a bit from normal, but you'll see in a minute why. Our annual giving budget is $40,000 to $60,000. That's based on the previous 7 quarters of the year. That's how, and we take 5%, and that's how we come up with our annual giving. Primarily, and this is what I think is a very important part of the foundation, we support our youth in scholarships, and also we support them in confirmation camp. Those two funding sources are our main part of the budget annually for the giving. Last year we did help pay off the mortgage for the church, thus the $330,000. That's brought our balance down quite a bit. And unfortunately last year was not a very good year in the market. I think everyone's 401k reflected that. In '23 we'll support, as you heard, the HVAC upgrade. That money's not due yet. I think it'll become due in the spring when they complete the project, but we are providing a significant portion of that. Which is a real blessing to be able to do all of this for the church. I put up there giving and estate planning. We really do not receive hardly any money annually unless it comes from an estate. So please remember us in your estate planning. It's a great way to provide for the church and support mortgages and HVAC upgrades over the years. I've been involved with the foundation now for quite a few years, and if you look at the number of projects that the foundation has helped support, and we've kept our balance up until now close to $1 million, is incredible. When you think about the new addition, not only the mortgage, but all the furniture that was in there, we funded that day one. So it's been a real blessing, along with the things we do annually with all the kids, supporting their scholarships in college and youth camp and confirmation. One thing that I'd like to bring up, this has nothing to do with our foundation here at the church, but through an anonymous donor a few years back, someone started an endowment fund for at the Story County Foundation for our church. It's my opinion, not many people know about that. It's just another way to give to the church that is a great support. The church can never touch the principal of that amount, but we do receive 4% a year towards the annual operating budget. So as that fund grows, that number should get larger and larger and help support the operating budget of our church. And I just wanted to be sure and mention that because, again, it's my opinion, not many people even know about that it exists. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Marty Sankey. Along with William Edwards, I get to co-chair the Finance Committee. I want to us all working together to help financially support the mission, our mission of making disciples of Jesus who serve beyond the walls, we all have to work together to achieve that. And I want to thank everybody for the generosity that you've given the church last year and over the years in the past, and you continue to give. Today I want to talk two primary areas, our building mortgage and the operating budget. So, as Terry just talked about, our building, the new addition, which isn't that new anymore, but it's definitely a new addition to us, it was built and finished in 2013 at the cost of $4.5 million. On June 30th, 2022, I got the privilege of telling the banker, pay off the mortgage. We had enough money in there, and that was a big moment for the church. We've obviously been doing that, and I want to thank the foundation, Terry and the foundation, as he said. I want to thank you first, I guess, for all the years of giving to paying off that mortgage. That is a major task for this church, and I want to thank you for all your giving. Special thanks for the foundation for their generous gift of $330,000 last year, plus the other gifts, as Terry said, over the years, the furniture, the investment certificates, they help pay off those. So, it's a group effort. We all have to work together as we proceed on our mission. Now we'll go into the operating budget. One of the great things we did, last year was the first year in many years that we actually paid full apportionments. I joined the finance committee in 2019. In 2019, we were having a hard time even paying our bills. We were prioritizing how we paid the bills. And so I think it's 2017 or 18 maybe is the last time we paid full apportionments. And so this year, we were able to pay full apportionments. One thing, I'll give the conference a lot of credit. Apportionments used to be over $100,000 a year. It's now $68,000 a year. So they've done a great job of reducing what the apportionments are. But so I think paying those apportionments is a huge plus. A lot of people are very passionate about paying apportionments, and we did get that accomplished this year. So that's the good side. Now a little bit on the challenges we face. Our budget in 2021 and 2022 were in a deficit. Our income was less than what our expenses were. In 21, we had about a $13,000 deficit, and in last year we had about a $48,000 deficit. So again, income being less than our expenses. We were able to pay all of our expenses, and that was mostly due because of the income we received from the Paycheck Protection Plan, the COVID relief plan that the federal government had. In 2020, we received $89,200 in that PPP money. In 21, we had $68,000, about $500. So total, we had a little $157,700 of additional income came in through that program. So that really made a huge difference. So that helped us give us that cash reserve that we had been trying to get for many years. That gave us that cash reserve so we could pay our bills on time, not have to prioritize which bill we paid first. The budget for 2023 also projects a deficit. I'll get into that a little bit more on the next slide. But again, the slide says mostly due to the additional expenses for personnel and facilities management. Not picking on those two areas, but personnel costs are about 55% of our budget. To maintain this church and do projects is about 25% of our budget. So those two areas comprise 80% of the dollars we spend at the church. So obviously that's the lion's share of our budget. So if you look at the chart here, the green shows the income. The far left category, probably can't see it, is 2019. The far right one is 2023 projected. The light brown, hopefully that's what it shows on the slides, is that Paycheck Protection Plan income we received. So the actual numbers in 2022, we had an income of about $641,000. In the expenses in 2022 were $689,000. Again, that $48,000 difference. And again, so it shows 2021 and 2022 as a deficit. And you see over the years, the red bar clear to the left is the expenses in 2019. If you notice in 2020, they dropped significantly. Well, guess what happened in 2020? The church shut down. COVID hit. So expenses dropped considerably. But as now you see, as it's starting to go back up again, and again, we all know inflation is a big factor for trustees. Pick on Ben here, but to pay utilities. I know my utility bills at home have gone up significantly. Guess what? Utility bills up here have gone up significantly too. So there's a lot of things, costs have increased, but again, I'll get to that projected budget. Now, if we look at 2023, the budget that we have that's been approved by the church council, we're showing a deficit of $138,000 with what we are projecting for income versus what we think we'll have for expenses. Put that a little bit in perspective, in 2022, we were projected a deficit of $125,000. We ended up with 48. So that typically has happened. We do a little bit better than what we are forecasting. But it's obviously going in the wrong direction. We're 125 negative in 2022. We're showing a deficit of 138,000 in 2023. Go through it again, show expense or income about 668,000. The second line, I have committed offsetting funds from restricted accounts. That confuses a lot of people. The budget is definitely divided into certain areas. Some areas go towards operating costs. Some go to specific areas and they can't be used. We've been fortunate over the years. Gifts, for instance, Gifts and Memorials has given a lot of money for projects that aren't in the budget, aren't in the operating budget, but they have their money and they're able to pay for things that help offset what we have to spend out of the operating budget. United Women of Faith, completely separate entity. They also do a great job of supporting the church. So those are two examples of restricted funds, other organizations that help fund some of our operating costs. And so total income about 675, expenses were showing 814. Now one thing Neil brought up about the circuit, the Colo Collins, again, that increase in percentages that he talked about has a significant financial impact benefit to us. The income we receive from that circuit more than pays for the salary of our associate pastor. And so, a lot of people think, oh, do we need to get rid of pastor? Well, the circuit income has made a huge difference. We make more than what the salary of the associate pastor is. So, especially with that change in those percentages. So that's a big, big plus for us as far as income coming into us. All right, so now we have a $138,000 deficit. How do we fix that? It's going to take all of us to fix that. One of the things, pledges. For the 2023 budget, we had estimated $500,000 in pledges to come in. Right now, we've had about 150 pledges come back from giving units, totaling up about $447,000. So we're a little behind. So again, if you haven't returned a pledge cards, please do. That's one way. If we can increase the amount of money we get through pledges, through giving, that would help us reduce that deficit. If we can look for other sources of funding, other restricted funds, outside organizations that can help us offset some of our funding. I think those are one of the things we're going to have to look at doing to help reduce that deficit. Third bullet was draw down our reserve funds. That PPP money gave us a nice reserve fund. Our goal is to keep about $140,000 in our reserve fund. That correlates to about 3 months of operating costs for the church. So if we can keep that, we try to keep that way we know we can pay the bills. We don't have to start prioritizing which bill we pay first. And so if we need to, though, we can draw that down some. And it does fluctuate quite widely through the year. Our income fluctuates, quite frankly, all through the year because of the church membership. Last December, we made a special offering. We had a great response to that, and I want to thank the congregation. We did have a very good offering in December, which again is fairly typical. December is a very good month for the church, as far from the income and for a lot of reasons. And then one of the things, that last bullet I had, you know, trustees being 25% of the budget. Are there projects we may have to delay, which has been happening over the last couple of years, as Ben talked about, maybe some delayed maintenance. Are we going to have to delay some maintenance or some projects because of not having enough money? So those are ways we can look at solving our budget issues. And if you have other ideas, please feel free to contact me or William. We meet monthly as a committee, and that's one of our major topics of discussion. So, thank you.
Well, I'm glad I'm following Marty because I need the people up there to be awake. I have a few more slides on my presentation, so we're ready to go then. So for starters, the Mission and Outreach Committee takes your contributions and we distribute those in specific areas for specific purposes in mission and outreach. The designations for these are made in 4 different areas or categories. In addition, we have 2 missionaries we sponsor, and then there's some additional offerings in church and things. So next, please. This slide just shows you where your contributions have gone locally. These are staying in the city of Ames. Next, please. So this is the conference donations. On the left, you'll notice that these are the these are kind of in Iowa, and then the next side is national, or those would be United States-wise. I want to point out that the conference mission appropriations are they are part of something that we as a church have to give. However, they're focused strictly for mission work or outreach work. Next, please. These are where your funds went internationally. These are the ones that the Corps that are helping with the disasters outside the United States. Next, please. These are our 2 missionaries that we sponsor, Doug Williams and Jane Keys. You'll notice Jane has $200 extra. That's because Jane came and gave a presentation, and this was the money that was collected after her and Larry gave the presentation. I also want to point out that you'll notice Jane has retired behind her name. The committee last week, we did find a new missionary. I will announce that later for you guys to know. Okay, next please. These are the special offerings. On the left side are the special offerings that are given, collected in church and directed. The other side are, in the past week, you'll notice there's a list below. These are different things that occurred in Ames or statewide that we donated to. However, this year the crop walk was the big one. So you'll notice what was donated in time, collections, and money on that. Next, please. This is the Corps intergathering kits, and I will say this number was up a lot from last year, or from 2021. So you'll see your numbers, and then there's a total of, because we do have to give a monetary to send those kits. There's like $1, $2 that are with each of those kits. Next, please. This is where this congregation has shined. And these are the non-monetary, and that's with Micah. Micah loves to see, I think that Carol has made 1 or 2 trips a week to take your donations to Micah, and Access has had the same thing. So we didn't even put a cap number this year because you guys have gone over and beyond that cap number that we put for this donation. Next, please. This is something new that came our way. This started in May of 2022, and it started with 18 adults and 9 children from the Ukraine. 30 members of this congregation stepped up. They helped with their monetary contributions, teaching English, transporting and finding work for these people. This is an area that's possibly going to grow. So we will need a growth of missionary and outreach in this area. Jane Edwards is spearheading that, and but thank you for that. Next, please. This was put on us for that working outside the walls, and I want to thank everyone for this. So on the 4th Thursday 10 or 12 volunteers are needed to go to Food at First. So far, this congregation has filled. We've had no problem getting our 12 people to go do that. So a lot of people have had the opportunity to meet some new friends in Ames, and along with serving a nice meal, they've got to serve smiles also. Next, please. And this is my last slide. This is you. This is what this congregation is doing. This slide shows how people are going out and beyond the walls. So it's just a list of what people are doing to volunteer. Sometimes people don't like to, we don't volunteer to get the credentials or whatever, but this is missionary work and it is appreciated. So thank you all for what you've done, and we'll continue.
So each year, your church leaders sets a few goals for the church. And what I want to do here is just give you a quick glance back at what we did in 2022 and what our focus for 2023 will be. That first goal in 22 was really kind of a two-part. The first one is about the mission and outreach work that Steve just mentioned. I won't rehash that. But the second part of that was around being more invitational and welcoming. And there's a lot of good evidence that we've seen throughout the year. I think about like our welcoming committee that did the postcard for our Christmas service with a candy cane, and encourage you all to use that as a way to invite others. I know a lot of people used our Thanksgiving feast as a way to invite some new people to come through our doors and experience what it's like here. I know many of you are reaching out to friends and neighbors, and I see Ruth DeBoer. I can specifically remember you standing up one Sunday and introducing a friend that you brought to church, and I hope you all are thinking about doing that type of stuff. The other thing that I wanted to mention too was the updating of our website. In today's world, people are probably going to visit that before they ever walk through our doors. And I think we've all known for a while that needed to be updated, and thank you to Pastor Amanda for spearheading that. We now have a website that's, I think, much more welcoming and easy to find things and find out what's going on at this church. The second goal, be more intentional about our hybrid ministry, and almost every meeting we now have has a virtual option. We don't only just have that option, it's being utilized, and I think meeting in participation has increased because of that. I'd also mention every once in a while I'll check and see how many people are still online for worship service, and it looks like most Sundays there's 40 to 50 people still logging on to the virtual service. So it's really thankful for that option that we have here. Our third goal last year was increase engagement and faith formation. I don't know if we have any specific stats there, but I think if you asked many of the leaders of those groups, I think they would tell you that participation kind of slowly grew throughout 2022. We may not be back to pre-pandemic numbers, but we're moving in the right direction in a lot of those groups. So we're happy for that. So as you look forward to 2023, we're going to continue to focus on increasing and improving upon our welcoming and inviting efforts, and I would just ask all of you to think about who do you know that you would like to include and invite. I can tell you from my experience, it's a little awkward to invite somebody to come to church, but it feels pretty good when you do it. And when you really think about it, I mean, what more important things can we do as Christians than to invite others to come and experience what it's like here? Our second goal there for this coming year is to promote and grow service beyond the walls, and Steve's mentioned all the great things that we're doing there, so again I won't rehash that, but if there's a mission service project that you're passionate about, let Steve know. I'm sure with your leadership there'd be others that would be willing to join with you. And then the last one is to increase participation in our faith formation groups. So if you're not participating in one of those small groups, check out our website. There's great explanations of all those different groups. Dean had the list on the slide before. There's a hard copy handout by our front door. So come check them out. If you're already participating, think about who you could invite. It can be a little awkward to step into one of those groups the first time. So if you get a chance to bring somebody along with you, that would be great. So in summary, I guess I would mention, if you think about those 3 goals, they really align with our 3 values: to be more welcoming, to serve, and to build our faith. So that wasn't probably a coincidence. I think we're making good progress in a lot of areas. We have our challenges, but I want to thank everybody for their participation, thank the church leaders and our staff.
So why does it all matter? You've heard a lot of detail and work and things that are being done here at Ames First United Methodist Church. Why does it all matter? Stories told of a teenager riding a train and his shoe was untied. Another passenger on the train noticed it and he pointed to it and said, "Your shoe is untied." And the guy nodded but didn't do anything about it. Train kept on going. Once again, the passenger's like, hey, your shoe's untied. And the teenager said, "Thank you," but again, did nothing in response. The train kept on going and it arrived at its destination, and the teenager went to get off. He had not tied his shoes. His shoes were untied. He steps off the train, and guess what happens? He falls flat on his face, to which the passenger quickly said, "Why didn't you tie your shoe?" And the teenager simply said, "No one ever taught me how." No one ever taught me how. You'll probably hear me share that story again. It's in this book, Developing an Intentional Disciple-Making System, but that's why it all matters. You see, a church is a place that provides opportunities for people to meet Christ, to worship Christ, to learn how to be a disciple of Christ, and to find their identity in Christ. All this work that's done points towards this, a way that people can learn how to be a disciple, to meet Christ. And there's so many things that probably over the years have been done that have been meaningful to you in your faith walk. We never know what it is that the Holy Spirit will use to connect, so we try to offer so many opportunities. Also, in addition to meeting Christ, worshiping Christ, learning to be a disciple, and finding our identity, a church is a place to find belonging, a place to find community, and a place to find family. As a pastor over the years, I've had people tell me at times my church family is closer than my own family. Some people don't have a lot of biological family. Some people like me are many, many miles away from any blood relatives. But in a church, we can find this. And y'all, this is a great, great need. Everybody wants to belong and feel like they're a part. And this is something we can offer here in Ames. Additionally, why it matters. In the church, you can find encouragement. You can find support. You can also have that motivation and push to grow as a disciple. I wouldn't be a pastor today without people seeing something in me that I didn't see in myself, getting those little nudges to do and to respond. As your pastor at times, if you talk to me and are around me long enough, I'll probably push you. I have a reputation for that. But I think that that's something we do. We can encourage others to grow, but also encourage one another in the difficult times of life and support. No doubt those of you who have gone through trials, who have been a part of this church for a while, you know what it means to have a church family there for you. The church is a place where we experience the power of we. This is a phrase we use a lot in the Mississippi Conference. Is it used much here in Iowa? Is this a new thing? Is it used in Iowa, Dave? Okay, new thing. All right, so our bishop in Mississippi is real big. But you notice the word power is capitalized? Power comes from the Holy Spirit. The power of the Holy Spirit when we come together. Oh my goodness, we can do so much more than we can ever do alone. So that's why it matters that we're a church. We're not each individually trying to do this on our own. We get to work together. And when we do so, we work to transform the world. As United Methodists, that is still our denominational mission statement, to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. So as we are faithful and do all we do as a church, we are hopefully transforming our world. If you're a member here at Ames First, when you joined the church, and I apologize, this slide's a little hard to see, but you vowed to faithfully participate in the church's ministries by your prayers, presence, gifts, service, and witness. And in that liturgy of the membership vows, we do that so that in everything, God may be glorified through Jesus Christ. That's what we want to do. Everything, every ministry should be pointing us to glorify God through Jesus Christ. That's why it matters. What we do here matters, and I hope that will encourage you to be a part and to help us go for our goals and going for being the church God wants us to be in 2023. Amen? Amen. Kevin?
Just a few minutes here, but are there any questions? If not, you may have some after this. Feel free to reach out to any of our church leaders and ask questions. Hopefully you feel informed, but we certainly want to share whatever needs to be shared with the congregation. So with that, thanks everybody.
Well, that's what I was watching. You notice I was like, I'm not elaborating. We're just